Hello to everyone tuning in. Just a quick start. It's a fun idea if you share where you're listening from. Thanks, like and subscribe, and let's get comfortable and start the fun. I arrive home late from a business trip, the kind that drags on for days, leaving me drained but eager to be back. The taxi drops me off, and I drag my suitcase up the driveway. The house is dark, save for a faint glow from the living room. I imagine Elena inside, maybe curled up with a book, waiting for me. The thought brings a small smile to my face. We've had our share of problems, but nothing we couldn't work through. Or so I've convinced myself. I push open the door, stepping into the familiar warmth of home. As I take a step forward, I catch a whiff of something, a scent that doesn't belong. My brow furrows, but I shake it off. I'm just tired. I call out for Elena, but before I can finish her name, pain explodes in the back of my head. The world goes black. I wake up groggy, my head throbbing like a drum. My wrists are bound tight, digging into the flesh. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the dim light, and when they do, I wish they hadn't. Elena is there, but not the way I imagined. She's not alone. Two men flank her, their hands on her in ways that make my stomach turn. My wife, the woman I've shared my life with for 8 years, is lost in their touch. Her eyes closed, lips parted in a way that sends a rush of cold rage through me. What the hell? The words tear out of me before I can think. Elena's eyes snap open, meeting mine, but there's no guilt in them, just a strange calmness that twists the knife deeper. One of the men turns, a smug grin spreading across his face as he approaches me. "You're awake," he says, voice low, almost amused. He leans in close, so close I can smell the whiskey on his breath. "If you want to live, you're going to have to do something for us." I spit in his face, the only act of defiance I have left. "Go to hell, you bastard." He wipes his cheek, the grin never faltering. "That's cute," he says, straightening up. "But you might want to think about your situation. We can make this real simple or real messy. Your choice." My eyes dart to Elena, but she's already looking away as if I'm just another piece of the furniture. My heart pounds in my chest, fury and betrayal mixing into something darker, something that makes it hard to breathe. This isn't happening. It can't be real. But the tightness around my wrists, the ache in my head, it's all too real. I'm trapped, powerless, and the one person I thought I could trust has turned my life into a nightmare. I'm in the middle of something I don't understand, something that could destroy me. And as much as I want to tear into them, to make them pay for what they've done, I know I have to be smart. I have to survive. The reality of my situation crashes down on me like a wave. Elena is no longer the woman I thought I knew. She's a stranger, wrapped up in something dark, something dangerous. The man standing over me, the one who demanded my cooperation, leans in closer. His voice is calm, almost casual, as if we're discussing the weather. "Listen carefully," he says. "You're going to help us pull off a wow, and in return, you get to live." I glare at him, my heart pounding in my chest. "And if I refuse?" He smirks, glancing at Elena, who remains silent, her eyes avoiding mine. "You won't refuse, we both know that. You have too much to lose." His words hit hard. I want to fight, to break free from this nightmare, but the cold truth is I'm powerless. They have me trapped, and Elena is part of it. My mind races trying to make sense of it all. How long has this been going on? How deep is she involved? I want answers, but right now, survival is the priority. "What do you want me to do?" I finally ask, the words tasting bitter in my mouth. The man's smirk widens. "Smart choice. We need you to be our inside man. You work for Preston Holdings, right? We need access to their secure systems. Your login credentials, your clearance level, it's all we need to get what we want." I know exactly what he's talking about. Preston Holdings is a massive conglomerate with interests in everything from tech to finance. My job as a mid-level executive gives me access to sensitive information, but nothing that could be worth this kind of risk. At least, that's what I thought. "And if I do this, you'll let me go?" "You'll leave Elena alone?" "Away na. Mamosaim. Buanin na katiranam. Tasto Own I ask, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. We'll consider it, he says, his tone dripping with insincerity. But first, you'll have to prove your loyalty. How? He exchanges a look with the second man, then nods toward Elena. Start by showing her you're still in control, that you can be trusted to keep your mouth shut. I don't understand what he means until Elena steps forward, her face finally revealing some emotion. Fear. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, she whispers, her voice trembling. My mind reels as the implications sink in. This isn't just about stealing from my company. They want to see if I'm willing to degrade myself, to do whatever it takes to survive. My hands clench into fists, the ropes cutting into my skin. I want to scream, to lash out, but I can't. Not now. I have to think of the bigger picture. Elena hesitates for a moment before she's suddenly beside me, her hands touching my shoulders, sliding down my chest. It's a gesture meant to appease the men watching us, but it feels wrong, twisted. I can't bring myself to look at her, not after everything. Please, she whispers, so quietly that I almost miss it. Just go along with it. My breath hitches as I force myself to respond, to play the role they expect of me. I kiss her, hard, hard and fast, trying to convey a mixture of anger, betrayal, and the unbearable weight of what she's asking of me. I feel the men's eyes on us, their satisfaction at my compliance. It makes my skin crawl, but I know I have no choice. Not yet. When I finally pull away, the leader gives a nod of approval. Good. Now let's talk specifics. I try to focus, but my mind is split between the present and the burning questions that won't leave me alone. How did Elena get involved with these men? Is she a willing participant, or has she been coerced? And more importantly, can I trust anything she says? Or is she just as much a part of this as they are? The men outline the plan, a heist involving Preston Holdings' secure financial systems. They need me to grant them access from the inside, to bypass the company's stringent security protocols. It's a high-risk job, and failure would mean more than just losing my job. It could mean my life, or worse, the lives of innocent people. As they talk, I find myself nodding along, pretending to go along with their demands. But my mind is racing, trying to figure out a way out of this mess. I know I can't do this alone. I need help, but who can I trust? Going to the police is out of the question. These men are part of something bigger, and they have eyes everywhere. One wrong move, and they'll know. I glance at Elena, trying to gauge her reactions, but she's as unreadable as ever. She's avoiding my gaze, her posture tense. I can't tell if she's scared for me or if she's just playing her part in this twisted game. The meeting ends with the leader giving me a deadline. You have 48 hours to get us what we need. After that, we'll be in touch with further instructions. Don't disappoint us. I'm untied and shoved toward the door, but before I can leave, Elena grabs my arm. We need to talk, she says, her voice low. I hesitate, but nod. I don't trust her, but I need answers. We walk into the kitchen, away from the men's prying eyes. I lean against the counter, watching her carefully. How did this happen, Elena? How did you get involved with these people? She looks down at her hands, twisting her wedding ring around her finger. It's complicated, she says finally, her voice barely above a whisper. Complicated? You're helping criminals, Elena. You've dragged me into this mess, and now you're telling me it's complicated? Tears well up in her eyes, but I don't let it sway me. I need the truth. I didn't have a choice, she says, her voice cracking. They threatened me, threatened us. I thought I could handle it, that I could protect you, but it spiraled out of control. Protect me? By sleeping with them? By involving me in their schemes? My voice is rising, but I can't help it. The anger is boiling over, mixing with the fear that's been gnawing at me since I woke up tied to that chair. They said they'd kill you if I didn't cooperate, she says, her tears falling freely now. I was trying to buy time to find a way out, but it all went wrong. I want to believe her, but everything is so twisted, so far from the life I thought we had. And now what? You expect me to help them, To put everything on the line because you got in over your head? She shakes her head, reaching out to touch my arm, but I pull away. I don't know what else to do, she says, her voice breaking. Please, just trust me. We can get through this, but we have to work together. I stare at her, trying to reconcile the woman I married with the one standing before me now. Can I trust her? Or is this just another manipulation? Another way to keep me under control? But the reality is I'm out of options. I'm in too deep, and without her, I'm completely alone in this. Fine, I say finally, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. But if we're going to do this, I need to know everything. No more lies, no more secrets. We do this together. Or not at all. She nods, wiping her eyes. Together, she echoes. For now, it's the best I can hope for. But deep down, I know this is far from over. The clock is ticking, and the more I learn, the more dangerous the situation becomes. I can feel the walls closing in and the dread settling into my bones. But I have to keep moving, keep fighting. Because if I stop, if I falter for even a moment, it's all over. As I leave the kitchen, I take one last look at Elena. She's watching me, her expression unreadable, and I can't shake the feeling that there's still more she's not telling me. But I don't have time to dwell on it. I have 48 hours to figure out how to survive this nightmare, and I'll be damned if I let them win. The countdown has begun. The clock is ticking, and every second brings me closer to a decision that could destroy everything. I spend the first few hours trying to wrap my head around the situation. I'm stuck in a nightmare where my wife has betrayed me, and now I have to cooperate with criminals who've threatened our lives. The weight of it is crushing, but I can't afford to break down. I need to stay sharp and to find a way out of this hell. I decide to play along, at least for now. I need time to figure out a plan, and the only way to get that is by pretending to cooperate. The first step is to gather information. I need to know who these men are, what their real goals are, and how deep Elena is involved. She claims she was forced into this, but how much of that is true? Trust is a luxury I can't afford. Elena keeps her distance, but I can feel her eyes on me, watching, waiting. She's nervous, I can tell. She tries to act like everything is fine, but the tension between us is palpable. Every touch, every glance feels like a lie. I want to confront her, to demand answers, but I hold back. I need to keep up the act, to make her believe I'm on her side, at least until I know the full extent of the danger we're in. That night, we lie in bed, the silence heavy between us. I can't sleep. My mind is racing with possibilities, with plans and counterplans. I feel Elena shift beside me, her breath soft and slow, but I know she's awake too. I wonder what she's thinking, if she's afraid of what might happen, or if she's still playing me like a fool. Finally, I turn to her, my voice low. Elena, we need to talk. She doesn't respond at first, but then she nods, still staring at the ceiling. What is there to say? You know what's going on. I don't know everything, I say, trying to keep the anger out of my voice. I need to understand what you've gotten us into. She sighs, rolling over to face me. In the dim light, I can see the worry etched on her face, but it doesn't move me. I told you they threatened me. They said they'd kill you if I didn't help them. So you decided to sleep with them? The words come out harsher than I intend, but I don't care. I want her to feel the sting of it, to know how deep she's cut me. Elena flinches, but she doesn't look away. It wasn't like that. Not at first. They needed something from you, from your job. I thought if I kept them happy, I could keep you safe. And what about now? Are you still trying to protect me, or are you just in too deep to back out? She doesn't answer right away, and that silence is all I need to confirm my worst fears. Elena isn't just a pawn in this game. She's been playing her own hand, and I'm not sure where her loyalties lie. I'm doing what I can, she says finally, but I need you to trust me just this once. We can get through this if we work together. I want to believe her, but everything in me screams to be careful. Trusting her might be the last mistake I ever make, but what choice do I have? I'm alone in this, surrounded by enemies, and Elena is the only link I have to what's really going on. Okay, I say, keeping my voice even. We'll work together. But if we're going to get through this, I need to know everything. She hesitates, then nods. Tomorrow. I'll tell you everything tomorrow. It's not what I want to hear, but it's a start. I roll over, my back to her, and close my eyes. But sleep doesn't come. I'm too wired, too aware of the danger we're in. Tomorrow can't come fast enough. The next day, I make contact with the criminals again. I'm supposed to start feeding them the information they need to pull off their heist. The leader, a man named Victor, makes it clear that failure isn't an option. We're watching you, so don't try anything stupid, he says, his voice like ice over the phone. I won't, I reply, keeping my tone neutral. But I need more time. The systems at Preston Holdings aren't easy to access without raising flags. I have to be careful. You've got 24 hours, Victor says, not missing a beat. After that, we'll take matters into our own hands. And trust me, you don't want that. The line goes dead, leaving me with a pounding heart and a growing sense of dread. I don't have much time, but I need to use what little I have wisely. If I'm going to get out of this, I need to act fast. I spend the day at work, going through the motions, but my mind is elsewhere. I start digging into the company's security systems, not to help Victor, but to find a way to sabotage the heist without getting caught. It's a delicate balance. I have to give Victor enough to keep him off my back, but not enough to actually pull off the job. It's risky, but it's the only option I have. As the hours tick by, I gather bits of information that might help me later. I download encrypted files, backdoor access logs, anything that might give me leverage when the time comes. I'm playing a dangerous game, but I have no choice. When I return home that evening, Elena is waiting for me. She looks anxious, and I can tell she's been thinking about our conversation last night. She leads me to the kitchen where she's laid out dinner, an attempt to create a sense of normalcy in the midst of chaos. I sit across from her, not hungry, but I force myself to eat, to keep up appearances. After a few bites, Elena sets down her fork and looks at me. It's time, she says quietly. You need to know what you're up against. I set my fork down as well, my appetite gone. Go on, I say, bracing myself. She takes a deep breath, then begins to explain. Victor and his men aren't just after money. They're part of a syndicate that's been planning this for years. They've got connections everywhere. Cops, judges, even politicians. They're not just thieves, they're killers. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. And you've been working with them? I didn't have a choice, she says, her voice trembling. They approached me months ago, said they'd kill you if I didn't cooperate. I thought I could keep you safe, that I could keep it from getting this far, but I was wrong. I lean back in my chair, trying to process what she's telling me. So what now? How do we stop them? We can't, she says, shaking her head. Not directly. But there's a way out. If we can get them what they want and then disappear before they realize what's happened. I've been saving money, planning for this. It's not much, but it might be enough to get us out of the country. I stare at her, disbelief warring with the cold logic of what she's saying. She's been planning an escape, a way out for both of us. But at what cost? She's been lying to me, deceiving me, all to keep me safe, or so she says. And if they find us, what then? They won't, she says, her voice firm. Not if we're smart. We'll have to change everything. Our names, our looks, our lives, but it's the only way. I nod slowly, the weight of her words settling over me like a shroud. This is it, the moment of decision. I can either go along with her plan, try to escape and start over, or I can fight back, risk everything to take down Victor and his men. Either way, the stakes are life and death. But one thing is clear, I can't trust anyone but myself. Not Elena, not the cops, no one. I'm on my own in this, and if I'm going to survive, I have to be smart, to outthink and outmaneuver everyone around me. The tension between Elena and me is thick, but for now we're playing on the same team, or at least that's what she thinks. I nod, agreeing to her plan for now, but my mind is already working on another angle. I can't just run and hide. That's not who I am. I need to take control, to find a way to turn the tables on Victor and his men, and maybe, just maybe, come out of this alive. As I sit there listening to Elena lay out her plan, I feel a flicker of resolve harden within me. I'm done being a pawn in this game. It's time to start making my own moves and to hell with the consequences. The day of the heist has arrived, and every nerve in my body is on edge. The tension is suffocating as I prepare for what's to come. I've spent the last 24 hours pretending to follow orders, feeding Victor just enough information to keep him satisfied while I've been secretly laying the groundwork for my own escape. But everything hinges on the next few hours. If anything goes wrong, I'm dead. Elena is unusually quiet this morning. We've barely spoken since our last conversation. The silence between us heavy with mistrust. She's been working on her own escape plan, gathering the cash she's stashed away, and making arrangements for us to disappear. But I can't shake the feeling that she's still hiding something. I watch her from across the kitchen, her hands trembling as she packs a small bag with essentials. She's trying to act like this is just another day, but I see the fear in her eyes. "We'll leave as soon as it's done," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. "We can make it to the safe house by midnight if we don't run into any trouble." I nod, but my mind is elsewhere. I'm thinking about Victor, about the criminals who are counting on me to pull this off. I'm thinking about the back door I planted in Preston Holdings' system, the one that will alert the authorities the moment Victor and his men make their move. It's a risky gamble, but it's the only chance I have to take them down without getting caught in the crossfire. I'm also thinking about Elena, about the lies she's told and the secrets she's kept. I can't trust her, not fully, but I need her to believe I'm still on her side. If she suspects that I'm planning to double-cross Victor, she might turn on me to save herself. "Are you ready?" she asks, breaking the silence. I look at her, forcing a smile. As ready as I'll ever be. We head to the office together, each of us lost in our own thoughts. The ride is quiet, the tension between us growing thicker with every mile. When we arrive, I can see Victor's men already in position, their eyes tracking us as we enter the building. I give them a slight nod, pretending everything is under control. Inside, I go through the motions, my heart pounding as I log into the system and start the process that will give Victor the access he needs. Elena stays close, her presence a constant reminder of how far we've fallen. I can feel her watching me, waiting for any sign that something is wrong. The clock is ticking. I know that the moment I complete this task, Victor will expect results. I have to move fast. I enter the final command, then quickly trigger the back door, sending a silent alarm to the authorities. It's done. Now all I can do is wait. Victor's voice crackles over the earpiece he gave me. "We're in. Nice work. Now get out of there and meet us at the rendezvous point." I glance at Elena, who's already heading for the door. My stomach churns with anxiety, but I keep my expression neutral. "On my way," I say, trying to keep my voice steady. We leave the building, the cold air hitting us like a slap in the face. Elena doesn't say a word as we get into the car and start driving toward the rendezvous point. I can see the tension in her posture, the way her fingers grip the steering wheel. She's scared, but she's also determined. She thinks we're almost free, that all we have to do is meet up with Victor, hand over the data, and then vanish. But I know better. I know that the authorities will be closing in soon, that this whole operation is about to blow up in Victor's face. And when it does, I'll have to make my move. The rendezvous point is a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of town, the kind of place that's perfect for a clandestine meeting. We pull up to the entrance, and I can see Victor and his men waiting inside. Elena cuts the engine, her hands still shaking. "Are you sure about this?" she asks, her voice wavering. I look at her, taking in the fear in her eyes. Part of me wants to comfort her, to tell her that everything will be fine. But I can't. Not now. I have to stay focused. "We'll be fine," I say, even though I'm not sure I believe it. We get out of the car and head into the warehouse. Victor greets us with a grin, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. "You've done well," he says, clapping me on the back. This is going to make us all very rich. I force a smile, trying to hide the dread that's building inside me. Glad to hear it. Victor gestures to one of his men, who steps forward with a briefcase. As promised, your share, he says, handing it to Elena. She takes it, her hands trembling slightly as she opens it to reveal stacks of cash. It's more money than I've ever seen in one place, but it feels tainted, dirty. I want nothing to do with it. But before I can say anything, the sound of sirens fills the air, echoing off the walls of the warehouse. The smile vanishes from Victor's face, replaced by a look of pure fury. He turns to me, his eyes blazing. What the hell did you do? I don't even get a chance to answer before the doors burst open and armed officers flood the warehouse, their weapons trained on us. Everything happens so fast, it's a blur. Victor's men reach for their guns, but they're outnumbered and outgunned. Shots ring out, chaos erupts, and I'm caught in the middle of it all. I dive for cover, my heart pounding in my chest. I can hear Elena screaming, the sound cutting through the chaos like a knife. I have to find her, to get us out of here before it's too late. I crawl across the floor, my hands shaking as I reach for the gun. One of Victor's men dropped. I don't want to use it, but I know I might have to. The sound of gunfire is deafening, the air thick with the smell of smoke and blood. I finally spot Elena. Oh, listen. Huddled behind a stack of crates, her eyes wide with terror. Elena, I shout, making my way toward her. She looks up, her face pale, and I can see the fear in her eyes. But there's something else too, something I can't quite place. Are you okay? I ask, reaching out to pull her to her feet. She nods, but she's shaking like a leaf. We have to get out of here, she says, her voice barely audible over the chaos. I nod, my mind racing as I try to figure out our next move. The warehouse is a war zone, bullets flying everywhere. I need to get us to safety, but every exit is blocked by police or Victor's men. Then I see it, a small door at the back of the warehouse, partially hidden behind a stack of crates. It's our only chance. I grab Elena's hand and start pulling her toward it, praying that we can make it before anyone notices. But just as we reach the door, I hear a voice behind me. Not so fast. I spin around to see Victor standing there, a gun in his hand, aimed directly at us. His face is twisted with rage, his eyes burning with betrayal. You set us up, he snarls, taking a step closer. I should have known better than to trust you. I raise my hands, trying to keep him calm. Victor, listen to me. It doesn't have to end like this. He laughs, but there's no humor in it. Oh, it's going to end all right, but not the way you think. He raises the gun, and I can see his finger tightening on the trigger. Time seems to slow down. I can feel Elena's hand gripping mine, her nails digging into my skin. I don't think, I just react. I lunge at Victor, grabbing for the gun. We struggle, the weapon going off as we fight for control. The sound is deafening, and I feel a sharp pain in my side, but I can't stop. I have to stop him, to protect Elena, to survive. Finally, with a surge of strength I didn't know I had, I wrench the gun from Victor's hand and throw it across the room. He staggers back, clutching his side where I see blood starting to seep through his shirt. He looks at me, his expression one of shock, and then he collapses to the ground. It's over. The sound of the gunfire starts to fade as the police take control of the situation. I'm standing there, breathing heavily, my side burning with pain, but I'm alive. I look down at Victor's body, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. It didn't have to end like this, but there was no other way. Elena, I say, turning to her. But she's already gone, slipping out the door without a word, without looking back. I don't chase after her. I can't. I collapse against the wall, clutching my side as the pain starts to overwhelm me. The adrenaline is wearing off, and the reality of what's happened is starting to sink in. I've survived, but at what cost? The authorities move in, securing the warehouse, and I'm taken into custody. I don't resist. There's no point. Everything has fallen apart, and now I have to face the consequences. The police haul me out of the warehouse, blood soaking through my shirt where Victor's bullet grazed me. The pain is sharp, but I'm more focused on what just happened. Victor is dead, and Elena is gone. I can barely keep up with the barrage of questions the officers throw at me. My mind is spinning, trying to make sense of the chaos that just unfolded. At the station, I'm separated from the other survivors. They strip me down, patch up my wound, and shove me into an interrogation room. I sit there staring at the bloodstains on my hands, trying to piece together the fragments of my shattered life. The room is cold, and the stark fluorescent light above me buzzes like a bad memory I can't shake. Hours pass before someone finally comes in. Detective Harris, a man I've seen in the news, known for his relentless pursuit of justice, sits down across from me. He's got that hardened look of someone who's seen too much and can't afford to care anymore. He drops a file on the table, opens it, and pulls out a picture. It's of Elena. "She got away," he says, his voice flat. I nod, my mouth dry. "I know." He leans back, his eyes narrowing. "So what's the story? You were just an innocent bystander who got caught up in this mess?" I take a deep breath, my mind scrambling for the right words. I didn't have a choice. They were going to kill me. Elena, she's been mixed up with them for a while. I didn't know until it was too late. Harris studies me, trying to read my face. I can feel his skepticism, but I also know he doesn't have the full picture. "Your wife was involved in organized crime." What? You expect me to believe you had no idea? I knew something was off, but not this. Not until they knocked me out and tied me to a chair in my own home. I recount the events as calmly as I can, focusing on the facts, not the emotions. I tell him about the heist, Victor's threats, how I had no choice but to play along to survive. I leave out my plan to sabotage the operation. I need Harris to see me as a victim, not a conspirator. He listens, his face giving nothing away. When I finish, he closes the file and leans forward. "You helped them, even if it was under duress. That makes you an accessory, but we're more interested in Elena. If you help us find her, maybe we can work something out." The thought of Elena on the run, out there somewhere, gnaws at me. Part of me wants to help them catch her, to see her face justice for what she did. But another part, the part that still remembers the woman I married, hesitates. What if she's hurt? What if she needs me? "I'll cooperate," I say finally, "but I need protection. If they find out I'm talking to you, they'll kill me." Harris nods. "We'll arrange for witness protection, but only if your information checks out." The next few days are a blur. I give Harris everything I know about the syndicate, hoping it's enough to keep me out of prison. The authorities launch a full-scale manhunt for Elena, but she's vanished without a trace. As the days stretch into weeks, I begin to feel the weight of what's happened. Victor's death, the chaos of the raid, Elena's betrayal, it's all too much to process. The legal fallout is worse than I imagined. I'm not charged, but I'm not free either. I'm stuck in a legal limbo, my every move monitored by the authorities. The media gets hold of the story, and suddenly my life is splashed across every headline. I can't go back to work. I can't even go home. Everything I had is gone, burned to ashes by the choices I was forced to make. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Jessica, tells me that the best I can hope for is a plea deal that keeps me out of jail in exchange for my continued cooperation. She's blunt, efficient, and just cold enough to keep me focused on what matters, staying alive. "They'll want you to testify," she says during one of our meetings. "If they find Elena, they'll need your testimony to secure a conviction." The thought of standing in a courtroom, reliving everything, makes my stomach turn. But I don't have a choice. This is my only way out. I nod, agreeing to whatever she suggests. Weeks pass, and the authorities continue their search for Elena. I try to move on, but the trauma is like a shadow that follows me everywhere. I spend most of my time in a small, nondescript apartment provided by the Witness Protection Program. It's a far cry from the life I used to have, but it's safe. That's what matters now. But the nights are the worst. I can't sleep. When I close my eyes, all I see is Elena, her face twisted in fear, in anger, in something I can't quite name. I see Victor too, his bloodied body on the warehouse floor. And I hear the gunshots, the screams, the chaos of that night replaying over and over again. I try to distract myself, but nothing works. The television is full of news about the syndicate, about the raid, about the ongoing search for Elena. I switch it off, but the silence is even worse. I end up staring at the ceiling, my mind racing, until exhaustion finally pulls me under. One day as I'm walking back from a grocery store, I notice a car parked down the street from my apartment. It's a nondescript sedan, but something about it feels wrong. I quicken my pace, my heart pounding. When I reach my door, I glance back, and the car is gone. But the unease lingers. Are they watching me? Or is it just paranoia, the aftermath of everything that's happened? I report it to Harris, but he dismisses it as nerves. You're safe, he insists. We've got you covered. Just stick to the plan. I try to believe him, but the doubt gnaws at me. I can't shake the feeling that something is coming, something I can't control. A few days later, Jessica calls with news. They found Elena. My heart skips a beat. Where? Mexico. She was trying to cross the border. They've got her in custody. I don't know how to feel. Relief, anger, fear. It all crashes over me in a wave, leaving me numb. What happens now? She'll be extradited, charged with conspiracy, and a laundry list of other crimes. And you'll be expected to testify. This is your chance to close the door on all of this, once and for all. I agree, but the words feel hollow. Closing the door on this nightmare seems impossible. Still, I go through the motions, preparing for the trial, rehearsing my testimony with Jessica. I try to focus on the facts, to distance myself from the emotions, but it's hard. Elena isn't just another criminal to me. She's the woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew. The day of the trial arrives, and I'm a wreck. Jessica reassures me that everything will be fine, that the evidence is strong, and my testimony will seal Elena's fate. But as I walk into the courtroom, my legs feel like lead. I can barely breathe. When I take the stand, I avoid looking at Elena. I can feel her eyes on me, but I can't bring myself to meet her gaze. Instead, I focus on the prosecutor, on the questions he asks, on the story I've told a dozen times before. But it's different now, in this sterile courtroom with a dozen strangers watching my every move. I recount the events as clearly as I can, sticking to the script Jessica drilled into me. But when the defense attorney cross-examines me, it all starts to unravel. He's sharp, cutting, his questions probing deeper than I'm prepared for. He brings up my cooperation with Victor, my decision to help the criminals in exchange for my life. He makes it sound like I was more than just a victim, like I was a willing participant in their schemes. I feel the doubt creeping in, the jurors' eyes on me, judging, questioning. And then he drops the bombshell. Isn't it true that you're still in contact with Elena? The question hits me like a punch to the gut. I stammer, trying to deny it, but he's already producing evidence. A series of emails, encrypted but traceable, between me and someone using Elena's alias. I have no idea how he got them, but there they are, projected for everyone to see. The courtroom erupts in whispers, the judge banging his gavel for order. My heart is in my throat as I glance at Jessica, her face a mask of shock. I don't know what's happening. I haven't contacted Elena, not since she disappeared, but the damage is done. The defense attorney smirks, satisfied, as he steps away from the stand. I'm left reeling, my credibility shattered. The trial is over, my testimony tainted. As I'm led out of the courtroom, I finally look at Elena. She's watching me with an expression I can't decipher, part pity, part triumph. She's won in some twisted way. And I'm left to pick up the pieces of a life that's been torn apart beyond repair. I leave the courthouse in a daze, the weight of the trial pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. The defense attorney's ambush, the evidence that supposedly linked me to Elena, it's all too much to process. My credibility, my future, everything has been thrown into chaos. And Elena, even behind bars, still manages to control the narrative. It feels like she's always one step ahead, pulling strings I didn't even know existed. Jessica tries to reassure me as we walk to the car. We can appeal, challenge the validity of those emails. It's not over. but I barely hear her. My mind is spinning with images of Elena, her face as she watched me from the defendant's table, a mix of pity and triumph. The idea that she's been in contact with me or someone posing as her makes my skin crawl. I've been careful, paranoid even, since this whole nightmare began. How could someone fake that kind of communication? And why? To what end? The days after the trial are a blur. I'm put under tighter surveillance, my every move scrutinized. Jessica arranges for forensic experts to analyze the emails, but there's no clear answer. They're too well crafted, too perfectly planted. It's as if Elena anticipated every step, every move I would make. The frustration builds inside me like a ticking bomb, each day bringing me closer to the edge. Then late one night, I get a call. The number is blocked, and at first I hesitate to answer, but something compels me to pick up, a gut instinct I can't ignore. Hello? My voice is hoarse, filled with dread. There's a pause, and then a familiar voice comes through the line, soft and chilling. Did you miss me? My blood turns to ice. Elena. She laughs, a sound that echoes in my ears like a twisted lullaby. You didn't really think it would be that easy, did you? My grip tightens on the phone. Where are you? Somewhere you'll never find me, but don't worry, I'll find you. Her words send a shiver down my spine. I try to stay calm, to keep my voice steady. What do you want? What I've always wanted, she says, her tone shifting, becoming something darker, more dangerous. To watch you squirm, to see you suffer like I did. You took everything from me, and now it's my turn. You did this to yourself, I snapped, the anger bubbling to the surface. You lied, you cheated, you got involved with those criminals. Don't put this on me. But you were supposed to save me, she whispers, her voice full of venom. You were supposed to protect me, and instead you let them tear us apart. So now I'm going to return the favor. The line goes dead, leaving me standing there, the phone still pressed to my ear, the silence deafening. She's out there somewhere, plotting her revenge, and I know she's not bluffing. Elena has always been relentless, driven by a darkness I never fully understood, and now that darkness is coming for me. I don't sleep that night. Every creak, every shadow in my apartment sends my heart racing. I keep the lights on, the doors locked, but it does nothing to ease the tension gnawing at my insides. I'm a prisoner in my own home, trapped by the memories of what I've lost and the fear of what's coming. The next day I report the call to Harris, but there's little he can do. We'll increase your security detail, he says, his tone clipped. Professional, but I can hear the doubt in his voice. Elena is a ghost, slipping through the cracks of their surveillance, always staying one step ahead. Days turn into weeks, and I'm constantly on edge, waiting for Elena to make her move. I change my routines, vary my routes, but the sense of impending doom follows me like a shadow. I start seeing her in every crowd, every reflection, her face haunting me, a reminder that she's out there waiting. Then one evening, as I'm sitting in my apartment, the lights flicker. My heart skips a beat, and I jump to my feet, every nerve on high alert. I grab the baseball bat I've kept by the door since this all started and slowly make my way through the apartment, checking every room, every corner. But nothing seems out of place. Just as I'm about to relax, I hear it, a faint rustling from the balcony. I inch closer, my grip tightening on the bat, my breath coming in short, sharp bursts. I reach the sliding glass door and peer outside, but the darkness obscures everything. I'm about to turn away when I see it, a flash of movement, a figure lurking in the shadows. Elena, I call out, my voice trembling with fear and anger. No response. I slowly slide the door open, stepping out onto the balcony, my heart pounding in my chest. The air is cold, biting, but I barely notice. I scan the area, but there's no one there, just the empty night stretching out before me. I'm about to retreat when I see it, a small, folded piece of paper taped to the railing. My hands shake as I reach for it, unfolding it slowly, dread coiling in my stomach. The note is simple, just a few words scrawled in her familiar handwriting. See you soon. I drop the note like it's burning my fingers, my mind racing. She's here, watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. I stumble back inside, locking the door behind me, my thoughts spiraling out of control. She's playing with me, toying with my sanity, and I'm helpless to stop it. The days that follow are a nightmare. I barely leave the apartment, too afraid of what might be waiting for me outside. I'm a prisoner in my own mind, consumed by the fear of Elena's next move. The police increase their patrols, but it does nothing to ease my anxiety. I'm unraveling, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Then one night it happens. I'm jolted awake by the sound of shattering glass. I spring out of bed, grabbing the bat as I race toward the living room. The front window is smashed, shards of glass littering the floor. My heart races as I scan the room, but there's no sign of anyone. And then I hear it, a soft, mocking laugh from the hallway. I turn, and there she is, standing in the doorway, her face obscured by the shadows. But I know it's her. Elena. "Miss me?" she asks, her voice dripping with malice. I raise the bat, my hands trembling. "What do you want, Elena?" She steps closer, her smile widening. "I want you to suffer, to know what it's like to lose everything." "You already took everything," I snap, my voice shaking with anger and fear. "What more do you want?" Her eyes gleam with a twisted satisfaction. "Your life." Before I can react, she lunges at me, a knife glinting in her hand. I swing the bat, but she's too fast, dodging my strike and slashing at my side. Pain explodes through me, but I don't stop. I swing again, this time connecting with her arm, sending the knife flying across the room. She stumbles back, clutching her arm, but she's not done. She glares at me, her face contorted with rage. "You ruined everything," she screams, launching herself at me again. We grapple, both of us driven by desperation and fury. I manage to get the upper hand, pinning her to the floor, but she's still fighting, her nails raking across my skin, her screams filling the air. "Stop!" I shout, trying to hold her down, but she's relentless, her strength fueled by hatred. Finally, I manage to wrestle her into submission, holding her down with all my weight. "Elena, stop. It's over." She stops struggling, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Her eyes lock onto mine, and for a moment I see something flicker there. Something that almost looks like the woman I once loved. But it's gone in an instant, replaced by cold, unyielding fury. "You'll never be free of me," she hisses, her voice laced with venom. I look down at her, my heart heavy with a mixture of pity and anger. I already am. The police arrive moments later, bursting through the door, weapons drawn. They pull me off her, cuffing her as she struggles and spits curses at me. I stand there, bloodied and bruised, watching as they drag her away, her screams echoing in my ears. As the adrenaline fades, the reality of what just happened sinks in. Elena is gone for good this time. But the scars she's left, both physical and emotional, will never fully heal. I'm taken to the hospital, treated for my wounds, and questioned by the police. They want to know everything, every detail of our final confrontation, but I can barely speak. I'm numb, drained of everything. Days later, I'm discharged, and I return to my apartment. It feels different now, empty in a way that's both freeing and terrifying. I should feel relief, closure, but all I feel is a deep, aching void where my life used to be. I sit on the edge of my bed, staring at the broken window, the memories of that night replaying in my mind. I sit in my apartment, staring out the broken window, the sounds of the city muffled by the thick walls. The chaos of the last few weeks has finally started to fade, leaving a heavy silence in its place. Elena is gone, this time for good, and the police assure me that she won't be able to escape again. They've tightened security around her, made sure every exit is sealed. But I can't shake the feeling that it's not over, that she's still out there, lurking in the shadows of my mind. I try to piece together what's left of my life, but it's not easy. The scars, both physical and emotional, are deep, and the betrayal cuts deeper than I ever imagined. I've lost everything, my marriage, my job, the life I thought I was building. It's all gone, replaced by a hollow sense of survival. I'm alive, but I'm not really living. I think about Elena, about the woman she used to be before everything went wrong. I wonder if there were signs I missed, moments when I could have done something differently, changed the course of our lives. But it's useless to dwell on the past. The truth is, I'll never fully understand what drove her to do the things she did. The love we once shared is gone, replaced by a cold emptiness that I can't fill. The days blur together, each one a mirror of the last. I go through the motions, eating, sleeping, existing, but it all feels meaningless. The world outside moves on, but I'm stuck in this endless loop of regret and loss. I know I should be grateful to be alive, that I managed to survive when so many others didn't, but it's hard to feel anything but numb. The media eventually loses interest in my story, moving on to the next scandal, the next tragedy. I'm forgotten, just another victim in a city full of them. I try to rebuild, to find some semblance of normalcy, but it's like trying to put together a puzzle with missing pieces. No matter what I do, the picture is incomplete. I start seeing a therapist, someone Harris recommended. She listens patiently as I talk about Elena, about the betrayal, the violence, the fear that still lingers in every corner of my mind. She tells me it's going to take time, that healing is a process, not a destination. But time feels like the enemy now, a vast expanse of nothingness that stretches out before me, unending. One night I find myself wandering the streets, aimless, lost. The city is alive with lights and sounds, but I feel disconnected from it all, like I'm walking through a dream. I pass by places Elena and I used to go, restaurants, parks, all tainted now by the memories of what once was. I keep walking, trying to outrun the ghosts that haunt me, but they're always there, just at a step behind. I end up at a small, rundown bar, the kind of place where no one asks questions, where the world outside doesn't exist. I sit at the counter nursing a drink, and for the first time in weeks, I feel a flicker of something. Anger, pain, I'm not sure, but it's real, and it's mine. I let it burn inside me, a reminder that I'm still here, still fighting, even if I don't know what for. The bartender gives me a nod, a silent acknowledgement of shared pain. This place is full of people like me, people who've lost more than they can bear, who've been broken by life, but keep going anyway. I watch them, wondering if they feel as hollow as I do, if they're just as lost. Eventually, I finish my drink and head back out into the night. The streets are quieter now, the city winding down, but my mind is still racing. I think about what comes next, about how to start over when everything feels so shattered. I don't have the answers, but I know I can't stay like this forever. I need to find a way to move on, to rebuild, even if it's just one small step at a time. In the days that follow, I begin to take those steps. I clear out the apartment, throwing away the remnants of my old life, the things that tie me to Elena. It's painful, but it's necessary. I need to create space for something new, something that isn't tainted by the past. I start looking for work, something to keep me busy, to give me a reason to get out of bed in the morning. It's not easy. My name is still connected to the scandal, the trial, but eventually I find a small company willing to take a chance on me. It's nothing like what I used to do, but that's okay. It's a fresh start, and that's what I need. As I settle into my new routine, the nightmares start to fade. They don't disappear completely. There are still nights when I wake up in a cold sweat, Elena's face looming in the darkness, but they become less frequent, less intense. The therapist tells me that's a good sign, that it means I'm beginning to heal. I'm not sure I believe her, but I cling to the hope that she's right. Months pass, and slowly, I start to feel like myself again. I'm still haunted by what happened, but it doesn't control me anymore. I've learned to live with the scars, to accept that they're part of who I am now. The memories are still there, but they don't have the same power over me. I think about Elena less and less, and when I do, it's with a sense of detachment, like she's someone I used to know a long time ago in another life. I don't know what became of her after she was taken away, and I don't want to know. That chapter of my life is closed, and I'm finally ready to turn the page. As I walk through the city one evening, the air cool and crisp, I feel a strange sense of peace. I've lost so much, but I've gained something too, a deeper understanding of myself, of the darkness and the light that coexist within me. I'm not the same man I was before all this happened, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe this new version of me is stronger, wiser, more resilient. I stop at a corner, looking out at the lights of the city, and for the first time in a long while, I feel a flicker of hope. The future is uncertain, full of shadows, but I'm not afraid anymore. I'm ready to face whatever comes next, knowing that I can survive, that I can endure. This isn't the end, it's just the beginning of something new.